Please be seated. This is the night when Christ broke the bonds of death and hell and rose victorious from the grave. This is the night where Jesus passes from death to life and brings us with him. This is the night, and so we should tell those stories of how God saved God's people in ages past. This is the night. And so we should hear again the ultimate tale of salvation, as Mark will tell it to us in just a little while. But it is also the time for us to think about the stories where God has saved God's people now, in our day, in our age, in our lives. Please allow me to share one of those stories with you from my own life, and I hope you hear in it an echo of the great story. Today is my mother's birthday. She would have been 94 years old. She died in 2014. It wasn't only that she died that year, but 3 months before that, my husband died, passing away suddenly of a heart attack. Less than 3 weeks after my mother died, my father died. Passing through that time made me feel that I was dead. I didn't have any signs of life in me. I felt like those old dry bones that we just heard about. Cut off, forsaken, wondering if somehow or other God was angry with me. Then came something I did not expect. The folk of one of your sister congregations, the Church of the Ascension, asked me to come on a summer day while Reverend Marilyn was away on vacation. I came. I had the opportunity to share Eucharist with them and to break the bread of life with them. To my surprise, a couple of months later, Reverend Marilyn called me into her office and said, I don't know if you are even thinking about this, but we have a position for someone to come and teach our young. Would you be interested? I didn't see it coming at all. I said in that moment, yes, but I was still feeling dead. By the grace of God, I stepped into that, and what I encountered was an unexpected resurrection. Those children whom I had the chance to walk with, talk with, teach, and be taught by, brought me back to life. They reinvigorated me. They restored to me joy that I thought I could never experience again. Quite unexpectedly, these dry bones had new life, new air. I tell that story to you, my sisters and brothers, because when I finally got it through my skull that this was a resurrection story, I said to myself, wait a minute. My story is like his story. And his story is like my story. And I began to understand something quite remarkable. I began to understand that I am what resurrection looks like. If you want to know, look. Here it is, in the flesh, standing before you. This is what resurrection looks like. Now, maybe you're thinking, that's a bit bold. That's a big thing to claim. Is that not a little grandiose? Not in the least. But lest you believe that this is something that I am claiming only for myself, let me ask you to do one other thing this evening. Look around this nave. Look at the faces in the candlelight. Look and see one another, maybe just dimly through the flickering flame. I want you to know what you're looking at. You're looking at what resurrection looks like. For you see, we are all what resurrection looked like. We have passed through the water. And in it, we became a part of Christ's death. As Paul will tell us in just a few moments, in this water, we all died. And from this water, we all came back alive. What has happened to us is a change. Sometimes we don't think about it as very dramatic, but when you think about the stories in your own life, where you have seen disaster and pain, and then afterwards, somehow unexpectedly, something new emerges. This is death and resurrection. This is the reality of our lives. This is how we have been called to look at life, as death and resurrection. What that means is when we are looking at the dry bones, wherever those dry bones are laid, maybe we are looking at the dry bones of our own day and age, and we wonder, how come justice seems so far away in our land? Maybe we are looking at the injustice of poverty and the homeless who sleep right outside our door and say, why is this the case? Why are these dry bones not alive? Can they live? God's answer is yes, they can live. I don't know all the time what resurrection looks like. It surprised me when I saw it in the mirror. Maybe it surprises you today. But I can say this about us. We look for the resurrection of the dead. No matter what's happening, we look at the reality of pain because we have been to the cross. We know the pain of death and all of the things that come with it. But we look for the resurrection of the dead. We are a kind of a crazy people who can stand in the midst of pain and walk with people in pain and still say, we look for the resurrection of the dead. Dear people of God, this is the night that Christ passed over from death to life and brings us with him.